Welcome to Cyber Shorts, a LinkedIn series brought to you by SecureWorks. This series is short and snappy conversations around trending topics in cybersecurity. Today, I'm joined with Rafe Pilling, Director of our Threat Intelligence from our Counter Threat Unit, and myself, Stacy Leidwinger, VP of Portfolio Marketing. Today, Rafe is joining me as last week, a fraudulent scam broke out around bookings.com, and we saw some very interesting activity around threat actors and how they were really exploiting the travel industry. Rafe, could you give us a little background around the scam and what unfolded last week?
Yeah, absolutely, Stacy. Thank you. So I think the scam itself has been going on for a while. Once we looked into it, we could trace it back at least 5 months and potentially longer. But at its core, this is a scam that focuses on targeting people, both people who may be looking to travel for a family festive holiday event, or maybe booking an annual vacation, or perhaps just traveling for work. And essentially, it's got two phases. In the first phase, the scam targets hotel staff. So the people who want to be helpful, provide a responsive and enjoyable service to customers, that sort of need to be helpful and responsive is exploited by the scammer. They will target the staff. They will use a multi-stage phishing operation. So they send multiple emails, which follow a sort of a pretext. The pretext might be someone's lost something at the hotel, maybe a passport, which was the example that we highlighted in the research we published in the blog. But other things we've seen, people looking to have requests accommodated, anything really that sort of starts that conversation and lets the scammer introduce a link into that conversation that the hotel staff will then click. And by clicking that link, they go through again a multi-step process that results in an info stealer, a piece of malware being deployed to their systems, which will go and capture credentials. It can capture passwords that are typed in, can capture passwords that are stored in the browser. And in particular, this case, the info stealer was configured to capture booking.com credentials so that the scammers could then enter the accounts for those particular hotels. So that takes us to the second phase of the scam. So having captured those credentials from the hotel, they would enter their booking.com account and communicate directly with the customers of that hotel. So people who are looking to stay with that hotel, perhaps had upcoming bookings, and they're communicating over the legitimate chat feature built into or messaging feature built into the platform. And that'll also come through in emails and that kind of thing. So it's all from the customer perspective, it's legitimate. They have an existing sort of transaction or relationship with this hotel, and they get this message saying that there's a problem with their payment information. And so naturally, no one wants to disrupt their trip over some little mix-up with a credit card payment or whatever it might be. And so they follow the instructions they're given, and they click on the link that they're asked to click on, and they enter their payment information into the page they're presented with. And as a result, an illicit transfer of funds is made by the scammers. And from some of the reports we've seen of people coming forwards, we're talking hundreds of pounds, in some cases thousands of pounds, or again, local equivalent would be hundreds of dollars, potentially thousands of dollars. So yeah, it's a real it's something that hits sort of everyday people in their pocket, and a lot of those people can't necessarily afford to lose those sums of money that these scammers are taking.
Yeah, this sounds a little more sophisticated than the go buy, X number of gift cards and give us back whatever the numbers are on the back end, right? It sounds, a lot of these scams people know about. This sounds a little different. Was there some things that were out of the ordinary that the team researched and found?
Yeah, I think as you highlight there are lots of scams out there. I mean, the internet is riddled with various scams. I think what makes this one different is some of the sophistication around, and I don't want to kind of overstate this, it's not super high end, but the fact that they are initially targeting the hotels, looking to get into their credentials for this legitimate big global travel platform, and then using that platform to reach customers, which will come across as much more credible to the individuals that are targeted, and much more likely that they'll comply with the scammer's instructions and lose money.
And so, Rafe, I think the big question for anyone that joined us today is how can people protect themselves? What should people look out for? And what can they really do to make sure they don't fall victim to a scam like this?
Yeah, thanks, Stacy. I think often as security professionals, we say things like, "Oh, don't click on the links in the emails, don't click on the links in, whatever it might be," which is kind of like saying don't fall for the scam, which is not particularly useful advice, to be fair. Um, so generally speaking, I increasingly I like to tell people that anytime you get a communication that invokes a sense of urgency, says you have to do something now, particularly where there's a payment involved, be suspicious. You can look at the links that might be present in that email or chat message, whatever it might be, but just take yourself out of that communication thread. If you have booked a trip with a hotel and you get an email that says, or a message through the chat platform that says there's an issue with the payment, call that hotel directly, talk to them about your booking, figure out what the issue is. Don't sort of use the links in emails and messages. You can try and determine yourself whether it's a legitimate link or not, but it's not always very easy to do that. So yeah, go out of band, go direct to the hotel, talk to them about your booking and see if there's an issue. And from the hotel security perspective, there are things that they can do as well. Booking.com, I believe, supports multi-factor authentication. So this is an additional step that you can set up. So even if your credentials are captured, there is an additional aspect, a token perhaps that's generated by an app or an SMS message that's received on a phone that is needed to log on to the platform. Yes, it can introduce a little bit of extra business process complexity, but it's well worth it in terms of the additional security it provides, and not sort of being that vector for additional attacks on your customers, which can have impacts on your business from a sort of a reputation perspective. So both of those things, multi-factor authentication for the hotels, being sort of suspicious again, I guess, of emails they receive. One thing I will point out in these campaigns is that the email sent to the hotels, when there was a link included that the hotel staff were asked to click on, there was usually a password provided in the body of that message as well. And by providing that password, it kind of adds this additional sense of security and credibility. But the reality is that's a very unusual and weird thing for a customer to send you and ask you to put in when you're sent a link. And in this cases, and the cases we looked at, the passwords were always things like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So again, if you're a hotel staff, you get a request from a customer that involves clicking a link maybe on Google Docs or Google Drive, and there's a password that you're asked to put in, that's a bit of a red flag as well. But yeah, I think those are some tips. Just be cautious.
Well, thanks, Rafe, for joining us today. And I think your advice is spot on. It's really about everyone being kind of cyber smart, right? Just taking a second before taking action. Does it feel good? Does it feel right? Double check, confirm what activities you're taking. Well,
Absolutely.
I appreciate everyone that joined in today. Please join us for our next Cyber Shorts. And if you're interested in learning more, either about how the threat actors executed the scam, or you'd like to learn more about SecureWorks and how we're helping organizations protect and secure their missions, please go to secureworks.com. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.